Are you thinking of moving to the Denver metro area? Let's talk about Arvada, Colorado as a place to move to. It's got plenty of parks and recreation, and it also has great views of the mountains, and you can also commute to downtown Denver fairly easily. Hey, welcome to my channel. We talk about everything there is to know about eating, sleeping, living, and having a great time in the Denver metro area. If you haven't before, smash that like button and also hit that subscribe button so that you get notified of all our new videos. We get tons of texts and calls about people that are moving here or just relocating from one end of town to the other, and we'd love to help you out. So make sure you reach out to us. Okay, let's get started talking about Arvada, Colorado. Some of the pros and cons of Arvada, Colorado. First off, I want to mention I grew up in Arvada, Colorado, so I don't live there now. I live clear across town on the south side of town. So let's take our way up from the south side of town all the way up to Arvada and talk about Arvada, Colorado. So what's Arvada, Colorado known for? Well, it was one of the first places to strike gold. It has some historical landmarks. It has the old flour mill, which I remember touring when I was a kid. I think we used to go there on field trips, which is in Old Town Arvada. Thanks to its great schools and great amenities, it has been growing and is a popular place to live. It is a short drive to downtown Denver, but I will tell you that if you live in the Old Town area, I would consider that a short drive, and there's also the light rail, which is a positive thing. But there is also, if you live really far north in the north part of Arvada or really far west, I have to say, one of my things I always hated about going to visit my parents is going, you get off I-70 and then you go down Wadsworth. There's so many businesses and everything, and it takes quite a while to get up to where they lived, which was off of 72nd and Kipling. So just know that if you got to wind through the suburbs, it's going to take you a little longer than the 15 minutes. Now, if you live right there, right near off of I-70, it's going to be a pretty quick commute to get downtown. Now, Arvada is part of Jefferson County, so most likely if you're living in the Arvada area, your kids will go to a Jefferson County school district. Now, I have to say, if diversity is what you're looking for, it's probably not Arvada, Colorado. I'd say that 98% of the population is white, so there's not a lot of diversity in Arvada, Colorado. Now let's talk a little bit about the weather. I will say that, you're gonna have your highs in the summertime up to 90 degrees, and your lows could get to around 18 degrees. Although this past week on Valentine's Day, we got in the negatives here in Colorado, and it's about the same in Arvada. I would say that sometimes if you live really far southeast, you're gonna get a lot more harsher weather than you will in Arvada. But the good thing about Arvada is that you are able to hop on I-70 and very easily get to ski areas and also get up to the foothills and enjoy all that outdoor recreation. Now, most people that live in the Arvada area are usually commuting or maybe working from home. And if they're commuting, they're probably commuting to Boulder, which Arvada is a good alternative to Boulder if you don't want to have the expense of living in Boulder or don't want to live in Boulder. It's fairly close. Also, people commute to Denver. Now, the one thing I will say as far as a con is there's not a ton of industry in Arvada, so most likely you are going to be commute or telecommuting to your job. There is quite a few retail corridors, like I talked about, that area as you go all the way up Wadsworth, and then also as you go up Kipling, there's lots of shopping and retail areas. And sometimes that's why getting from I-70 up to the north part of Arvada can be a little frustrating just because there's all that traffic. Now, parts of Arvada might be a little bit more expensive than other parts of Colorado, but I tend to think that when you live up north, depending on where you are compared to south, it tends to just be a little less expensive. If you're in the newer areas of Arvada or highly desirable areas of Arvada, it could be a little bit more expensive. So speaking of home price, the average home price, and we're talking right now, it is February 2021. Average home price is around $500,000, and the median home price is around $471,000. The market is pretty competitive for homes in the Arvada area. Usually they get multiple offers. They usually move pretty quickly. If you're planning to rent rather than buy when you move to Arvada, Colorado, the average rent is around $1,400 according to Rent Cafe, and that's around about an 800 to 900 square foot apartment. And it can go up and down from there. That's just the average. You can go up to, 2,000 into the nicer areas and maybe down to 1,200 in the areas that are maybe a little less desirable. So you won't have to go far in Arvada. Like I said, there's tons of shopping and retail in Arvada, Colorado. No matter where you live, there's probably a store around the corner that you need. As far as other things to do in Arvada, I already mentioned the Apex Center, but there's also the Arvada Center, which has been around for a very long time. In fact, I think I may have even danced there. But I also went to lots of plays and field trips there when I was a kid. They have a museum about, what it was like to live in pioneer days in the area. And also they have tons of plays and arts. So they do dance lessons, music lessons, art lessons, anything you can think of that's around the arts. And they also have an event center where you can rent the facility for weddings or special events. So lots of stuff to do with the Arvada Center, along with, the rec center that I already talked about, the Apex Center. As far as restaurants and breweries go, you're gonna find a lot of those down in the Old Town Arvada area. You're gonna find the Old Schoolhouse Brewery and Bistro. They serve different whiskeys if you're into that. They have lots of other things to offer there. As well as, Old Town Arvada has Army Surplus Store, a great bakery, and a coffee shop, and all the other little gift stores and things like that you might enjoy. Like I said, you're going to be in Jefferson County School District if you're in Arvada, Colorado, and one of the top rated high schools in the area is Roston Valley High School. That high school didn't even exist when I was there. And also there's lots of newer areas that didn't exist when I lived in Arvada that are out by the Roston Valley area, new developments. Taking a trip to Old Town will show you the houses that were built probably in the 50s and 60s. They're a little more historic area in the Old Town area, and you can also walk to Old Town Arvada, so it's very popular and also close to the light rail and also close to that I-70 corridor that I talked about. Now, as you go further north, you're gonna get houses that were maybe built in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and you're gonna get further away from that Old Town Arvada area. Those are your typical brick kind of D60s houses. A lot of the ones in Old Town, you'll have siding on them rather than the brick. But then as you go further even north from there, and I'm just kind of heading directly north of Wadsworth, you're gonna get into houses that were built in the 70s and 80s, and they're gonna start to get larger and bigger, and you're gonna find pretty mature neighborhoods and lots of parks and open space, which people like. And then you're gonna find those houses that were built then in the late 80s and 90s as you go further west. Now, as you go even further west, you're gonna start to get into all the new developments that are in Arvada. Now, I will say this is one con that I would say to watch out for, just to be aware of. Most people don't even know that if they're moving here, don't know it even existed, but there used to be something called Rocky Flats, which dealt with nuclear weapons, and I don't know all the details. I just know that it was nuclear. And I know that I don't know that I'd want to live where there was a nuclear plant that used to be there. But they're building lots of houses near it, and some of them will make you sign a contract knowing, like, say that you can't have a garden in your yard. So I would just be aware of some of those areas that are near there where they're building new houses. Now, the house I grew up in was fairly close to Rocky Flats. I think I'm fine. Maybe that's what's wrong with me. But anyway, it's just something to be seriously though to be aware of, because I think a lot of people move here and they don't even know that Rocky Flats ever existed. One area that was close to where I grew up was Lake Arbor. There's a really nice lake that you can walk around. My parents love to walk around that lake. And there's a nice neighborhood around there as well. And then also just down the way from there on Wadsworth is Indian Hills Golf Course, is a really nice golf course, and you have a really beautiful view of the mountains from that golf course because it's kind of on this rolling hill. Also for recreation, you've got the Apex Center, which is newly built, and there's also little annexes to the Apex Center all over Arvada, and senior centers and things like that. So lots of amenities. The Apex Center is pretty amazing. It's quite large, it has ice skating, huge indoor swimming pool, and just a whole recreation facility to use for your family. So just to summarize real quick, Arvada has pretty decent schools, so that's great if you have kiddos. There are many different family-friendly neighborhoods, ranging from, you know, the older historical neighborhoods up to brand new developments in the Arvada area. There are a ton of outdoor attractions and parks, and also art facilities, the Arvada Center and the Apex Center for recreation. The one disadvantage, I guess, is that the cost of living is pretty high based on the rest of the nation, but you're not going to find it that much different compared to the rest of Colorado. And one last thing, don't forget about Rocky Flats and where that was built, just to make you aware of it. Overall, I had a great time growing up in Arvada, Colorado, but when I got older, I didn't want to live there anymore. I just wanted something different, but that's because that's where I grew up. But it is a great town. I always had a great childhood there, always had a great time running around the neighborhood, you know, riding my bikes on all the bike trails and being outdoors. And I always enjoyed the schools. So I was moving to Arvada, Colorado in your future. If it is, make sure you reach out. I'm always happy to help and willing to answer any questions.